Hello and a big welcome to the BetDeluxe Brownlow Odds Preview. My name is Sam Edmund and a great pleasure to welcome in our guest from Adelaide, Kane Corns. How you doing, Kane?
Sammy, I'm good. It's an exciting time of the year and looking forward to the Brownlow Medal, actually.
Now, there's all sorts of fancy awards now. There's MVPs, there's an award for this, an award for that, there's an award for getting out of bed in the morning. But this, the Brownlow, is still footy's night of nights. You've been many times. It's still a special night on the calendar.
Yeah, this is the one that all players want to win. Of course, there's the premiership, but individual awards, this is the one with the most prestige. It'll always be the case. The Coaches Award holds a certain weight, as does the Players Award and other MVPs. But it's the Brownlow that all the players want to win. And I reckon this year it's going to be a really exciting count.
Now, just on that, it seems to be wide open, yes, but a lot of love for Neale at Brisbane and a lot of love for Clayton Oliver at Melbourne. So BetDeluxe have got a variety of markets. Those two names you're going to hear a lot over the next few minutes. Now, speaking of BetDeluxe, you'll want to log on to the BetDeluxe app right now for all your AFL finals and those Brownlow specials. So go on Deluxe yourself. Let's start with the obvious market, Kane, and that is the overall winner. Who's going to have Charlie draped around their neck at the end of proceedings on September 19th?
Yeah, you can absolutely see why Neale is the favourite, of course, previous winner, and arguably this season has been better than that 2020 season where he did win it in the shortened version of that. Prolific ball magnet. He's always in and around the umpire's line of sight and gets a lot of number of clearances, and I reckon he's been more damaging with his ball use and his metres gained and his score involvement, so that has really shot him up in lights. Clayton Oliver also, although he may have more players that perhaps would take votes off him, but once again, proven vote getter as well. Brayshaw from Fremantle has been well back, is in contention. I think he's fourth favourite for the award as I look here, just behind Patrick Cripps at $7. So you might get some value there. Once again, not sure how many Fremantle players would take votes off Brayshaw, and they've won a lot of games of football, so you'd expect him to poll well.
And a lot of love for Brayshaw throughout the year as well. So that narrative around how good of a season he has, I reckon I wouldn't mind a piece of that at $7. That's real value, I reckon. And your man Connor Rosie features down there at 101 to 1. Never say never, Kane.
Never say never, and he's going to come home like an absolute steam train. So just watch out for him in the back half of the year. I expect him to be Port Adelaide's best and highest vote getter. Not sure he can win because we just see how many votes the winners are getting these days. Not uncommon to see the winner well above 30 votes. So I'm not sure Connor Rosie will poll that well. So I think the bookies have it right. Neale from Oliver, from Cripps, but I think Patrick Cripps tails off towards the back end of the year. So the winner's going to come from Neale or Oliver, you would think.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned Patrick Cripps because, yes, his second half wasn't as good as his first half. We know the Blues started like a house on fire, and so did he. So that brings us to our next market, the leader after round 10 market. Now, he's the favourite, but you get good value here at the same time, Kane, at $2.40.
Yeah, no doubt about this. And when you look at, I think he had 6 30-plus games in that time frame that we're speaking of, and he was able to hit the scoreboard. Like, he's a high goal kicker, which hadn't been one of his trademarks to this point in his career. So I remember speaking throughout the year saying this guy's going to win the Brownlow by double the next best. That's how his start to the season was. So I actually reckon that's good value, $2.40. From Clayton Oliver, it's $3.75. Neale, $3.75. Petrarca, if you want a bit of a more of a long shot, at $10, and Brayshaw, that man, $15, but it's going to take something extraordinary, I think, to knock off Patrick Cripps to be the leader in the Brownlow after round 10.
Now, what about the most three voters? Forget your little twos and your ones and your consistent players. When they go big, these guys go very big. And I reckon Patrick Cripps this year, similar to last few years, when he goes big, he has big games. And there's other games where he doesn't poll at all. So in this particular market, he's the raging favourite at $1.91.
And they were 8-3, weren't they, the Blues, your team? So, I mean, he's going to be the one that's going to capture those best on-ground performances. So out of that 8 wins, he was probably best on-ground 5. And then you've got the back end of the year as well. So, look, I like that as well. Took Miller some value there, although Gold Coast, you usually only get the 3 votes when you win. So that will hurt him. But lots of value at $26, along with Christian Petrarca and Clayton Oliver's at 13. So, yeah, once again, you'd expect Patrick Cripps to have a heavy say in the markets, as he is leader after 10 rounds and also the red-hot favourite for most 3-vote games. You can see what.
Don't think my eyes deceive me. I've just got to squint to have a look at it. Did I actually see a key forward in that market, Kane? I think I saw Jay Cameron in there. He kicked a lot of goals this year. Could he get a few maximum polling games?
I wouldn't have thought so. Any player other than a midfielder that is in any of these markets is token. Like, he's the only player that doesn't play midfield in any of these markets. So that's an issue with the award. That's a discussion for another day. But once again, the only person that's winning this or getting any love in these markets is the midfielders.
All right, we've discussed the big names who go big. What about those guys who are just consistent, uber consistent, week in, week out? They're always front of mind when it comes to the umpires' votes at the end of the game. They just keep putting their name forward. They have really consistent games, four-quarter efforts, and there's a man at Melbourne who's done that in just about every week you can think of this year.
Just pencil him in, don't you, Clayton Oliver? He's just so very rare for him to have a quiet day. I mean, his lowest possession count, rarely does it ever go below 25. So he's always going to be there. And like Neale, I think he's worked hard on his forward half game, so been more damaging with his disposal. He's always been a high, prolific handballer, but I feel like he's kicked the ball more and got more possessions front of centre, which will always, the umpires will note that because of how much influence he can have. So he's been really consistent. Brayshaw's definitely been consistent, so there's some value there at $15 to poll in the most games. When Fremantle have won, and they've won a lot, he's regularly been well above 30 possessions, had a super consistent year and some good value at $15. Lachie Neale, of course, is always going to feature at $3.50. And Miller, who we touched on before, I reckon he was only beaten once or twice this year. Took Miller, and he convincingly won Gold Coast Best and Fairest. And you think he's going to consistently poll the All-Australian midfielder this year?
No, it took Miller certainly a watch and will be in a few people's calculations on the night, I am sure. Had a great season, as you say, up there at the Gold Coast Suns. Kane, appreciate your insights as we run the rule over the Brownlow for this year. Thanks to BetDeluxe.
Good on you, Sammy, and good luck to all the winners.
And make sure you want to log on to the BetDeluxe app, as we said off the top, for all your AFL finals and Brownlow specials. Go on, deluxe yourself.